Hey, how's it going? I'm Nick, and I'm your host on the Echo Academy podcast, a podcast dedicated to uncovering helpful tools and strategies to elevate your career. Today's episode is about how video and AI interviews will affect your chances of landing a job. My guest today is Sunny Saurabh. Sunny is the founder of Interviewer AI, a video interviewing platform that assesses candidates for soft skills, personality traits, and culture fit before inviting them for an in person interview. To find out more about Sunny, Interviewer AI, and this episode, visit echo.academy/Sunny. That's ekho.academy/SUNNY. So, without further ado, here's my interview with Sunny. All right, Sunny, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks for inviting me.
So, today is particularly interesting for me because I really want to, number one, I really love what you do at Interviewer AI.
Thank
so
you.
that would be great to understand what you guys do.
Yeah.
But number two is, and I think more importantly, is really to understand how AI affects our interview process and how the regular person should, or what we should know in order to be able to better prepare for that.
Absolutely.
So I suppose a good way to start this conversation is really to ask ourselves and to get your opinion on why are video interviews essential in this, I don't know, becoming a standard in the interview process.
Sure. Thanks for inviting me. Interview.ai, the product is in the name itself. It's
Yes.
using AI to automate the first round of interview. The big problem that it's trying to solve is the application to job ratios are skyrocketing. People are receiving from anything from 200 applicants to over 7,000 for one role. It's humanly impossible to go through that many resumes or applications.
Right.
You need some sort of automation. And also, the big thing, if you look at the workforce today, over 50% of it is soft skills. It's your interpersonal skills, it's communication skills, a lot of things that are required for the job. That's very hard to measure from a resume.
Right.
So people think, if only I could do video interviews. And it's not a new thing. Video interviews have been around since 2012. But people used to do a two-way interview, more like Skype.
Yes.
But with the time zone, location changes, you're now reaching out to global talent. That's becoming less and less likely. And people are now focusing on one-way interviews.
Right. And I suppose recruiters only have 24 hours in a day. So they still can't, even though it's one-to-one interviews, you can't get through 7,000 applications.
Exactly.
So how does AI play into that? If it just becomes a one-way interview?
Sure. You're right. They just have 24 hours. And we found during our customer validation is people resort to shortcuts. So for example, if you've applied, say 3 weeks ago, or you have applied last week when I was on holiday as a recruiter, your application might not even be read.
Right.
Okay. So they just look at the last 3 days to 5 days actives. They look at, some filters, they'll search for certain keywords and they'll say, okay, here are the 10, and I'll just send it to the hiring manager. So those kind of shortcuts people are employing. It's not widely said. People say they spend 6 seconds on a resume. I'm dead sure nobody's going through those thousands of resumes out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how AI helps is that there are resume parsing softwares that say, okay, for this job, these are the core skill sets, and I'll just take out those keywords. It's been around again for over 5 years, and people game that also.
How do they game that?
So they just add the right keywords.
Right. Okay.
There are companies helping you to write a resume that will be filtered by application tracking software out there.
Oh, wow.
So it's all been gamed. People, I can understand why, because when you're applying, only 2 to 5% of candidates make it to the interview round. So 98% are rejected at an application stage. So people will employ tactics to get recognized. And the most effective so far has been the referral system.
Yes.
So you get your friend introduced to the company. And I think that's a hack. It's a hack because the normal system doesn't work.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you say it's a hack and that the normal system doesn't work, do you think referrals are a good way to filter out quality candidates, or is it just a case of knowing the right person?
I think so. My personal take on referrals is you kind of work with the same group of people over time.
Yeah.
So if you have a career like mine over 10 to 12 years, you'll meet these people in different companies and then you'll start working with them after 3 to 4 years. It doesn't bring in fresh people, fresh pool of talent. You're working in those circles. There have been cases in a lot of companies in Southeast Asia where you get the main guy and they will move that entire team.
Right.
So there are tactics that people employ, or you refer your friends, but yes, that could be one-off, great. But what shows that person has the skills that the candidates who applied through the normal process don't.
Right.
So it's just your validation, basically, you as an employee of an organization. But it's not the scientific way of evaluating candidates. And there are far better candidates in your application pool that you haven't got the time or the tools to screen for and surface them for the interviews.
Yeah, I guess now that you mention it, I especially in a country like Singapore, it's so small. And if you work in like the tech industry, and especially if you work in tech sales, like you guys get passed around the same set of tech companies, and you're like, oh, you're here, yeah, I got headhunted too, so I guess eventually referrals just become that way.
Yeah, it's in the CBD area, everybody is around this 1 kilometer radius, right?
Exactly.
You bump into them either in the same company or different companies. So I don't think that's good for companies in general, because you tend to bring in those cultural practices from other organizations rather than imbibing the culture of this new organization and building on the basis of the talents, skills, and competencies that are required for a role.
Yeah.
So that's why I call it a hack.
Right.
But it works. I mean, it works.
Yeah.
In most of the tech companies like Google, LinkedIn, I've seen it work over and over again.
Yeah, well, especially when the hiring process needs to be fast, right? You just need all these cues, like, hey, someone, and then, it kind of accelerates the process.
Absolutely. And there are companies that are now having a separate 24-hour turnaround time for referrals, as against 2-week turnaround time for the regular applicants.
Exactly.
So yeah, if you have friends out there who can help you, refer you, I think you should take that approach rather than applying directly.
Right. So while AI is still developing the right tools, the best way to get the jobs you want is networking still.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it hurts me to say that, but currently that's the best way to get where you want to be.
Got it. So, well, let's delve deeper into the AI portion of it, So, for example, your company software, AI is starting to play a big role in these interview processes.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly is this role that AI plays?
Okay. So first of all, we should demystify AI.
Okay.
It sounds like a robot, something, from another world.
Yeah.
So AI is just repeatable human tasks applied at scale. So, for example, if you're looking at certain behaviors, certain keywords in 10 resumes, can I repeat that to hundreds of thousands of resumes? And those are part of the algorithms that AI companies use. There are other ways of doing this. So, for example, some of the video assessment platforms, the biggest out there in the US, they are getting your best employees out there and saying, okay, we have 5 of these. Can I get 500 similar people? So the algorithm will see, okay, what are the traits of these 5 candidates? And then just screen all the hundreds. There are over 2 million applicants in some of the biggest companies that you can know.
Right.
So they just look for those skills and they say, okay, these are the skills. that match with the kind of employees you have. But there are problems with those approaches. The problem is, the basic problem is, you're introducing bias. First of all, who says these are the best employees? On what scale? Are they male, female? Are they at a certain age range? What is the AI looking at? If it is a black box, it's going to just apply those biases at scale.
Right.
Which means you'll never get diversity. You'll never get a great new talent out there because they're all filtered out.
But if I could challenge that point, I mean, let's say if the 5, for example, if we use an arbitrary number like 5 key employees, what if we base that on just mainly the KPIs? So in that case, wouldn't we have eliminated the biasness because we are only looking at those who can achieve those objectives?
Mm-hmm. I mean, for cases where you're looking at hard numbers, for example, sales, you can say that that's a good measure. But the challenge is, are they all 5 extroverts? Does that mean introverts won't do well in sales?
Right.
So all those biases are creeping in. And maybe for 5 it works, but why do they work? Do they have networks within their circles that are helping them clinch those deals? Does it work on certain verticals, but if you go for other verticals, it doesn't work? So once you try to replicate and you get those hires and they don't perform, and then you realize, oh, maybe there's something wrong with the algorithm or the way AI is working.
Right.
And those are the challenges that are creeping in. And that's where AI can be a demon as well. So we need to control that and figure out exactly what you're doing with the AI.
Got it. So in that sense, how is, for example, like a solution like yours solving this problem, or at least making it easier for both the hiring manager and people like us who are trying to apply for these jobs?
Sure. So let me first clarify, there are 2 things: video interview software and video assessment software.
Okay.
So video interview software is a simple video interview, and then there are humans looking at the videos and judging whether they should be invited for a face-to-face round or not. Mostly these are done by junior recruiters or contract people who score each of these videos. But they are not the hiring managers.
Yeah.
So that introduces some sort of a bias, and the scoring might not be exactly what you want. The other is video assessment software, where I say they use human-based modeling. So for this role, these are my 5 best candidates. They will take the interview, and then you base your algorithm based on this. But you have to understand that these 5 candidates already have the job. They are not hunting for it. So they are carefree. So it's not the right measure. What Interviewer.ai is doing is we are taking a competency-based approach. We are saying, for this job, what do you need? You need somebody with 3 to 5 years of experience, somebody with a marketing background or a community building background. And then they should have great interpersonal skills. They should love talking to people. They should have great communication skills. And these can be measured. There's data to measure it. And then we score them based on these data. So, and once you measure that, you can actually tweak the weightage. You as a recruiter can say, okay, I've got 500 applicants. I need somebody to be better at friendliness or interpersonal skills. You can increase that weightage, and you can say communication skills, great. And then all the candidates are sorted by that. And we think that you should get your hire within the top 5 to 7 candidates.
Yeah.
So we've just shortlisted from hundreds of candidates these 5 to 7 where you should be spending your time. There are other factors as well, like are you Singaporean PR?
Yeah.
So those are other requirements that are there. So it's not just soft skills or hard skills, but those are your subjective calls that you make as a recruiter every day.
Yeah.
What the AI is helping you is from hundreds, bring it down to 10 or 20, where you can have more quality conversations rather than just sifting through resume after resume all day long.
But I'm curious about that, because if you use a video AI assessment, how does it take note of the soft skills, like great interpersonal relationship or the ability to to handle stress and all these factors that are intangibles? How does AI pick up on those?
Okay, so what what they use, and if you talk to our IO psychologists, what is used is called structured interview techniques. So each question is designed to test a particular skill. Usually, interviewers don't tell you what skill they are testing for. But when they are asking you a question, they are looking for certain skill sets. It could be collaboration, teamwork, leadership, communication skills, etc. How you're talking to customers. And big companies are using it day to day. So if you are in an interview where somebody is reading out a question, it's not because he doesn't know what to ask, but they're using structured interview techniques to ask those questions.
Right. Okay.
So what the AI is doing is just telling you those questions and you're responding to it.
Okay.
And based on that, they are looking at your facial expressions, which you do in a body language, right? 90% is over 90% is nonverbal, right? We all know.
Exactly.
So it's just looking at those kind of qualities at scale. And that's how it evaluates you.
Okay. Well, that's I mean, knowing that, I mean, it seems like it won't really, I mean, there's no real way for interviewees rather, to prepare for those expression based, what we can only prepare for is still the questions that will be asked, but nothing about our body language or anything like that. Are those things that you think we can prepare for? If I mean, if the AI is going to be testing us on that, how should we be preparing for stuff for?
Yeah. So first of all, it's not AI. It's basically a set of traits that they're looking for.
Got it.
So you need to understand those traits. And actually, we are working with a lot of universities in Singapore right now, helping students, coaching them for video interview softwares. The first thing you have to look at it is AI software removes the subjectivity.
Right.
So when you're in a face-to-face interview, you are looking at the person who's asking you questions. And there are icebreakers and things like that. And you're tweaking your responses to that person. And if there was somebody else, you would tweak your answers to that person, right? That subjectivity is gone. The personal bias is gone. And it's just about you and what your skills are and how do you put it out there. So the one way to prepare is, first of all, be very confident, smile, just like you'd be in a face-to-face interview. Tilt forward, those kind of things, very, very normal things when you do a telephonic interview. Just see that there are no distractions around, because you're not in the office, right? You're at home or in a cubicle somewhere. So is there a dog running around? You shouldn't be following that, and those kind of things. So no colorful backgrounds, dress well, just keep away all the distractions.
Yeah.
Check the audio, video before you're recording, so that at least whatever you say is heard by the other person and there are no technical glitches.
Right.
We've heard from candidates that there have been technical glitches where the video just freezes in certain softwares. So those things are there. And then it's about the clarity. So when you're answering a question, you have a time limit.
Right.
So just be clear, put your points across. In a way, there's no interruption. So you can just put across the points why you want to join that company, why you're passionate about that space. Bring about all your personality and character that is so hard to show in a resume when you're writing your resume.
Yeah.
So those things, I think it's a boon in a way. It's a good way that you can share a video and show your personality to them. Like, you're missing out if you're not hiring me.
Right.
That kind, rather than being afraid of, what is the AI looking for?
Yeah.
So I would say it's an opportunity. That's how candidates should be looking at it.
Right. And I think in a way, these types of video AI assessments are quite beneficial to the person who's interviewing, because in a sense, there's no added pressure of someone looking at you, because, sometimes you're often intimidated by the person sitting in front of you or the voice that you hear over the phone. Whereas now, if it just comes across as a question, like, all right, okay, it's just me. I'm only competing or really dealing with my insecurities or whatever, and I can just try and do my best, put my best foot forward without worrying about how the other person is going to perceive the question.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Nick. I mean, especially in Singapore, you're working in various multinational companies that are headquartered in say the Valley, and their culture is very different. They are very straightforward, upfront, and our culture is we are very shy. We take time to get in, so you can just give out your best. I've seen that European companies are also very different. So first 3 to 5 minutes in it during an interview, you're trying to understand your audience. So all that thing is gone. The icebreakers are gone. I don't know whether you play baseball or something, but if you miss that game, it's not something that's going to affect the results of your interview, right? So those things, those subjectivities, those things are gone. And then you can just give it your best in terms of how you can do the job well, and just put that points across. Yeah.
Right. And so and feel free to add on if I missed out anything or if I'm incorrect. What I'm hearing is that the real benefit of a video AI assessment product or platform is really, number one, to help make the interview as objective as possible.
Yeah.
And number two, ensure that whoever is recruiting is able to screen through as many people as possible in order to find the best candidate. Is there anything else, or did I make a mistake in pointing out anything?
So if you look at historically, right, the first cover letter and resume was sent in 1482.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was sent by Leonardo da Vinci, you know, to the Duke of Milan, and he was impressed. And there was just one applicant; he got the job. Look at now, hundreds and thousands of candidates are applying from all over, not just in Singapore. How do you stand out? So a resume might not do the job. You need to show your character, your personality, your soft skills, and you have to view the video interview as an opportunity to do just that. And I think if you can do that, don't worry about the number of applications that they are receiving. It's just you put your best foot forward. And I've seen a lot of people are very creative. They make a very good first impression.
Yeah.
And you must have heard that in a lot of interviews, in the first 10 seconds, people decide whether they want to work with you or not, right? No matter what you say for the next 30 minutes. So these are some of the things where you can make an impression, and you have to take it positively. And I think it's good. It's a good technology, use of technology.
Yeah.
For you. Yeah.
Got it. Looking into the future, like let's say, technology moves really quickly, so maybe 5 is too long, but let's say in the next 5 years, where can we expect this AI technology for interviewing to go, and what can we expect from that space?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, we spoke about the fear of AI and what is this new video interview technology, but I think over time, it's going to be a talent-driven marketplace.
Can you repeat that? What do you mean?
So basically, today it's an employer-driven marketplace. You're going to companies and you're applying for a job.
Right.
Yeah, you're applying to a Google, to Facebook, to the Grabs of the world. But going forward, I see it as a talent-driven marketplace where as soon as you're available, there are these 4 or 5 companies that are going to approach you, and you are going to decide which one you choose. It's already happening in the Valley. Average candidate out there today is available for only 9 days.
In Silicon Valley?
In the Valley, across.
Yeah.
And, the hiring processes take over 2 months. So people are realizing that they're missing out on quality talent just because they're not fast enough.
Yeah.
So in a talent-driven marketplace, as soon as the person is out, there will be social signals. There will be other ways where the employer is going to know that you're available and they're going to make an offer.
Right.
That's happening in the Valley. It's going to happen here. So I think that will massively change the way employment is done. And I think it's going to benefit the talent. So it's going to be like Grab,
Yeah.
you just booking for a cab and you can say no to certain cars or whatever. So
right.
I think it's going to be, so candidates shouldn't worry. I think it's going their way big time. And also we are seeing that full-time jobs are going on a decline.
Yeah.
So if you want to work out of a beach somewhere, there are people who are touring all over the world, and they just have a few skills and competencies, and they're just monetizing that. So it's going to move to a skill-based economy.
Got it.
I mean, you can see already, I don't know, in a lot of workforces, you're not engaged 9 hours a day. You have to be in office, but typically, I don't know, your work some days takes 2 hours, 3 hours. The rest of the time, you're just, I mean, I don't know, you can network, you can talk to people. Those are great. But is it good use of the office space? Is it good use of your time and your talent? So I'm going to see. I think I can predict that it's going to be more a gig based, where and it's not like you're doing those $5 jobs or $10 jobs. It's going to be full scale gig economy where you are paid for your skills. You can work for multiple companies. You can always stay on the top, and you can go wherever you want, and use the time as you feel right.
I have a question about that actually, because I mean, and since you being a founder of the company and you're hiring as well, like, while I agree that remote work is going to be a thing, I say even in my previous job, we hire remote workers, but it also doesn't really contribute to the culture of the company because they're so far removed.
Sure.
So how does that? I mean, I'm sure that impacts, especially when it reaches a point where the percentage of people who are remote versus the percentage of people who are in office is quite different. So 60% remote. I'm sure that affects the culture. And how do you try to rectify that?
So I don't know. I mean, you brought the culture fit is something that companies in Singapore are grappling with. People in the Valley have already solved for it. So they get people in with the right culture, with the right mindset upfront. I'll tell you one instance where WeWork, I was in Berlin for a couple of days, and I went to WeWork in Berlin. And I found the same kind of energy that you find with community managers here out there. And they're super friendly. Like, can we help you with the luggage? I was live within a minute. The Wi-Fi was working. The access was all right. Coffee was there. Everything was there. I was placed and I was ready to go. So it doesn't matter whether I was in Singapore or Berlin, but I could be productive. Remote doesn't mean you're sitting at home in a bunk bed and working, So you can collaborate in all these WeWorks all over the globe, and you can, build teams out there, maybe a 3-month. I see it more like making Hollywood movies.
Right.
So you bring out a team for a project, you shoot the entire movie, you do your job, and then you disbanded. You work for other projects, and then you get together for another movie. The product is still great, and you're having an amazing time, but it doesn't mean that you are stuck in one location 9 to 6 every day of your life.
Yeah. And I think you brought up 2 great points here. Number one is, even though they're remote, I mean, if you're hiring 3 people in, I mean, let's say Russia, they can work. You can put them in a co-working space or an office together. Technically, they're not remote. They're just in a different location. It's like a different satellite office, for example.
Absolutely.
But the second part, which I really like, is the part about Hollywood productions, because then people, the understanding that it's a sprint. You're just trying to solve for a problem. I mean, they just give their 100%, knowing that there's an end date, instead of, I'm here for 5 years, I have time,
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the biggest skills that employers in Singapore are looking for is adaptability, or taking ownership or being innovative. And these are, great skills to have, and you can float around without the fear of, I'm going to lose my job. I'm not going to get a salary. So I see the future is going to be more... it's going to be more fun. It's going to be much more skill-based earnings, rather than I have this job. I'll do this for the next 10 years. That kind. So you already see that the attrition rates have increased in a lot of companies, and gradually we are moving towards that. Not all jobs you can do that. You can't do that for everything.
Yes.
But I think a large chunk of the jobs will move towards gig-based.
Got it. So I'm mindful of your time, so I want to ask you one last question, but in two parts. Number one, do you use your own software to hire your employees?
Absolutely. So we got our head of business development, Sean. He applied through our career page and he did the video interview. And the first thing we realized was, wow, he has such a wonderful voice. We fell in love with his voice is so great, and let's meet him. And we had a great conversation. And in the next 2 weeks, I think we offered him, and he decided to join. I've seen that a lot of people who are passionate about what you're doing, they straight away go to the career page, they look at the opportunities and they apply for it, or they reach out over on LinkedIn. And I think those are one of the best ways to find the best candidates, because it's your interest, something you believe in, and then you come in to join forces. I think those are some of the best candidates out there.
I totally agree. And part B of the question is, if companies want to get in touch with you to really find out how your software interviewer AI can help them with their hiring process, how can they get in touch?
They can just reach me on LinkedIn or sunny@interviewer.ai. I'm just opening myself to a lot of spam. But yeah, I'm always available. Please feel free to reach out. And yeah, if the listeners have any great ideas, please do share as well, things that could help recruiters be more productive. We are always looking for those feedback. So that'd be great. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. And I'll put your contact details in the description of the podcast, so it'll be easier for people to reach out.
Awesome. So yeah, that's great. And one last point I want to make is, no matter how much AI is out there, hiring is human. You're working with human who, and that's why we talk about culture fit and you have to remember that, and you just have to put your best foot forward. I think that would really help you without thinking about technology taking over jobs, and all those are mostly bullshit. It's just algorithms which are looking at human traits. Those are planted by humans, so that's not going to happen in the near future.
Got it. And I want to second that, based on one of the earlier podcasts I did with two guests who are in the recruitment space, Faye and Emily, and they said and this is just to add to your point, it's number one, it's human, it's very human interaction regardless of all the technology that's available.
Yeah.
But because everyone is going through applications at such speed and taking all these shortcuts, it's important that throughout this process, never to take it so personally. It's just a business decision. You just put your best foot forward. If it doesn't work out, just keep trying. And someone with a video assessment tool might see a personality trait that fits the company, and who knows, you'll be hired in no time.
Absolutely. I mean, we're seeing that you applied for a role, but you might be fit for another job. So we hired somebody who applied for a BD position. Then we saw, oh, she has this research experience, and probably that might be better. So people are making those calls every time. And like I said, it's subjective. It's from company to company. Yeah. So please don't take it personally. And I think the whole point about, technology is to make it easier for you. So even for candidates, if you can put your best foot forward in those 10, 15 seconds when you are taking that video interview, I think you'll get the job very quickly. Somebody's going to see that what you have. And if you're passionate, if you're energetic, if you want to really contribute to the company, that's something that's lacking today. It's not the hard skills. It's just the mindset, the kind of people you want to work with. If you're excited about that, I'm sure you'll make it.
Yeah. Great way to end it. Just have a killer first 15 seconds. It'll go a long way. Sunny, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Thanks for inviting me, Nick. This has been great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.